Well, Rami Khouri is Distinguished Public Policy Fellow at the American University of Beirut. He joins us from Washington, D.C. Welcome to the programme. In terms of the discussions then, what are the main stumbling blocks that would need to be addressed before any deal could be made?
The main stumbling blocks are the ones that have always been there from the beginning, which is that neither side, the Israelis nor Hamas, wants to concede anything to the other side. And neither of them are willing to unilaterally concede anything. They're willing to make mutual concessions if they both gain what is critical for them. That hasn't happened yet. They did have that initial pause, and they released some hostages and prisoners, I don't know, it was about 2 months ago, whatever it was. But the big goal thereafter, Hamas wants a permanent ceasefire, all the Israelis out of Gaza, the Palestinians being able to move back to the north anywhere they want, and full resumption of humanitarian aid as it was before October 7. So the Israelis want the hostages released. They want to make sure that they're not going to be attacked again from Gaza. And they say they want to destroy Hamas. They're probably going to get the first two things they want, but it's unlikely that Hamas can be destroyed because Hamas is really a sentiment. It's an idea that has transformed into a movement, but that movement has transformed itself over the years, and others were there before it and after it. So you can't really destroy Hamas, but you have to take away the reasons why a Hamas is needed, and that's the Israeli occupation and the subjugation of the Palestinians. So they're getting close to the point where both sides are going to be able to get what they say are their critical demands. And if they can both get them simultaneously, then you could have a really impressive agreement, probably in 2 stages, as they're thinking now. And
all of this, though, in the shadow of Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu consistently warning of a full-scale assault on the southern Gaza city of Rafah.
Well, this is part of the negotiations. You know, you have to keep the pressure up on the other side. You've got to keep the threats up. You've got to make it seem that you're not bothered. You can stay like this for another year. The reality, though, what's fascinating here is the involvement of the third party, which is the United States. This is a war between the United States and Israel on one side and Hamas and some other groups on the Palestinian side. The United States is really worried about many things. They were terrified of the Iranian-Israeli exchange of weapon attacks between them, even though they were both controlled. They were terrified of a wider war in the region, what the impact of this on oil flows, on investment, on global trade will be a catastrophe. The United States government, led by the Democrats and Biden, are terrified of the impact of this war on their election prospects in November. A poll yesterday showed that 81% of young people, all people, not just Democrats, 81% of Americans between the ages of 18 and 34 think that the war is being badly managed, and they disapprove of the way the war is going and American support for it. This is a huge, huge thing for American politicians. And they're also finding that they're not being isolated around the world, because you can't isolate them, they're so strong, but they don't have the same clout that they used to. People are looking to China, to Russia, to India, to the BRICS, to other people for strategic relationships, as well as Americans. So there's huge fear in the U.S. The Israelis have been worried in the last few days about the International Criminal Court issuing summons, indictments against Israeli leaders for war crimes, as well as probably against Hamas people. And Hamas is worried that it's not really getting the kind of support it was expecting from Arab or Iranian or other supporters in the region, and it's pretty much on its own. And Gaza has been pretty much destroyed. So all 3 of the main players have tremendous pressures on them to make a permanent ceasefire, get the best deal they can get, and then move on to a permanent political resolution, if possible. But that's stage 2, which is in the future.
We'll leave it there. Rami Khouri, we very much appreciate your insights. Thank you for joining us here on Al Jazeera.
Make sure to subscribe to our channel to get the latest news from Al Jazeera.